Hello and welcome. I'm Kara and welcome to my craft room. I live in the Pacific Northwest and I just want to put up this little video log of what I got into the month of April. All knitting and crochet this month, and I'm already a week into May, but I wanted to get this out of what I had finished and worked on in the month of April. So first let's start with socks. So I love knitting socks. And I have a ton of sock yarn in all of these bins in the back. And so I picked out 12 skeins of sock yarn at the beginning of the year that have been in my stash for a long time that I wanted to knit this year into socks. So this month was a skein of lichen and lace in the colorway Garland. And I had won this yarn in a knit along from a Canadian podcaster several years ago, and I have finally finished. So these are the Garland. This is just a plain vanilla sock. I love the way they pooled. I just did 2x2 ribbing at the top and at the leg, heel flap and gusset. Kind of a wedge toe is usually my go-to. And so I finished this pair and had about 23 grams left of this yarn. This will just go in my scrap bag and will end up in scrappy blankets. Now, I finished these pretty quickly, so I pulled out my May skein, which was a skein of Freckled Whimsy DK, actually self-striping, and I split the cake in half, wound it up into 2 equal cakes, and I just cast on the cuff and knit a tube and did my toe. And so this is half the skein, and then I will cut in afterthought heels with the contrast color after I finish sock number 2. So I'm already ahead for the month of May, having my sock halfway done pretty much. So I'm super excited about that, and I might get an extra skein knit into socks this month. So that is my socks. The next big finish is a scrappy blanket, and this is my corner to corner crochet blanket. Here it is, all kind of folded up. It's so pretty. So this blanket I started in January of 2024. So it took just a little bit over 2 years. I crocheted quite a bit on this since January. That kind of happens. I'll start it and work on it for a while, put it down for several months, and then pick it back up. And so it just flew by. I was just enjoying the meditative working on this. And so I finished this one in the month of April. All fingering weight scraps, all different dyers. I just willy-nilly just picked up a scrap. I have this big basket of scraps here that I like to keep, and I'll just put, like so this ball will go into that scrap basket, and it'll just get crocheted into a scrappy blanket like this. And it's a good lap size, 1-person lap size blanket. And so what does one do when they finishes a scrappy blanket? Well, I pulled out another scrappy blanket to work on. This one is a granny stripe blanket, so it's straight across. Now this is all Lolo Did It yarn, and she dyes a collection called Hippos, and so this is all, or mostly, would be like a color of hippo and then some contrasting colors, and then there's a couple others in here, but all of this yarn is dyed by Lauren of Lolo Did It. So in April, after I finished the corner to corner, I picked this up, and I was here where this purple stripe is, and I've crocheted in all of this since then. And then these 4 colors here are all from her Star Wars collection. And so I finished these rows and then put the remainder and started another corner to corner. These are really good for just little bits of yarn. So, I didn't have very much, not enough to do a whole row on this granny stripe, because I am actually trying to do full rows in this particular blanket. and not do half rows and stuff. So this was all of the leftovers of those 4 colors. And so this will just be a random when I want to work on that one or when I'm done. I want to actually get this blanket done next, so I'll probably work on this one mostly as my scrappy project. And then as I get done with the colors, they'll go into the other scraps and they will get done. So, and this one's pretty big. I will lay this out later on a bed. It's pretty big. I'm actually kind of making this one the size where it'll fit on the top of a full-size bed. We have a spare bedroom that's just a full-size bed, a double, and so this will actually cover that bed and go over the sides a little bit. So it's pretty wide actually. So that is my granny stripe blanket. Then another blanket that I worked on was I made a baby blanket. This is just a chevron pattern, and this is a Knit Picks Brava. And I can't remember the exact colors, but an orange, brown, and then this is just an off-white. This actually is a Knit Picks baby DK, but I figured these 2 are worsted and this one is DK, and they all went together. And so this is for a little baby boy that will be born in August. And so this is all ready, just needs to be washed and then gifted at the baby shower soon. The other thing I worked on was my Millie sweater. Started this one on Valentine's Day, February 14th, or that weekend. And I've just been slowly working on it. I actually finished the body, which is a good milestone. I just have the sleeves left to do. And this is made of a slub yarn. So I do have to kind of watch, and I found a drop stitch. So I will have to weave in that in. I caught that. But this one is knit out of Chelsea Luxe yarn. And I've had this in my stash for a good 5 years. And this is Luxe Cobblestone in the rose gold colorway. And I have 1 full skein left. I bought 3 skeins, and the body took 2. And I have a full skein left to do the sleeves. So this one is moving right along. So it is a little bit oversized, which it's perfect fit. It's airy, light and airy, so I really do like that. I will probably do a bracelet length sleeve, and this will be a transition piece for me, I think. I can wear it. It's next to skin soft. I don't have to have an extra layer underneath it. So making progress on the Millie sweater. And the last thing I worked on was a friend at church had talked to me. She is also a little bit of a knitter, and she got stuck on a project. And she gave me this bag that she had started. I'm sorry for the glare. It's called the Oregon Tote, and it is a felted bag. Now, I looked this up on Ravelry, and it's no longer in print. You can't get it from Ravelry, but there are projects on there. And then there's another pattern that you can purchase that's very similar. So I can see where she got stuck. And so I read through the pattern and the instructions, and I also looked on Ravelry at project notes. And so I can completely understand why she got stuck. And she was knitting this out of the Lamb's Pride. And this is a super bulky 100% wool yarn. And so here's the bag so far. So she had knit approximately to probably a middle of this black part. And I know she was at the instructions for the top part of it on how you create these buttonholes to, you make an I-cord for the strap. And so the instructions for the top to bind off and make this was a little bit confusing. And so by looking at project notes in Ravelry and reading through this the pattern a couple of times, I was able to figure it out. Now her knitting was a little inconsistent, so I went ahead and pulled it back all the way down to the bottom. So it's pretty simple construction. You knit kind of a rectangle. The bottom of the bag is a rectangle in garter stitch, and then you pick up stitches and you start just knitting in the round, and you slip a stitch every once in a while on the 4 corners. So I pulled it back just to the part where she had picked up and re-knit all of this, and then finished the ball, and then did the first round of knit cord. It's called knit cord, and it's an I cord, and then you have to put these loops in where we'll thread the I cord through once we've felted it. So now the next step is to pick up stitches again and actually do 2 more I cord bind offs. So I have to pick up all the stitches, knit an I cord, bind off, pick up all the stitches, and knit an I cord, bind off, which gives the top some structure, and then felt it. Now I've never felted anything before, so this will be my first felted project. But anyway, I told her I would finish it for her, and then she told me I could keep the pattern and any leftover yarn. So this is all the yarn I have left. So I'm hoping that I can get everything out of this. So that is something I'm working on, and I will try to get that done by the end of May to give to her at church. So I think that is all I did in the month of April. I didn't do any quilting. I still have my son's t-shirt quilt right here that needs to be bound. It's all squared up and ready. I just have to sit down at my sewing machine and clear off my table and do the binding. That's all that's left on that, and then give it a good wash. And I have been playing around this week on my circular sock machine, so I'm hoping that in May I will have some socks done from my circular sock machine to share with you next month. So thank you for stopping by, and I will link all my project pages in Ravelry below. I'm not active really at the moment on any social medias, so really just Ravelry. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll try to ask you. So thank you for stopping by, and have a great month.